Hey everyone, I'm Lauren Conlin, and as we continue our investigation into Utah's ritualistic abuse scandal and the Mormon Church, today we're going to be sitting down with Kresha Kay Easton, Lori Vallow Daybell's niece, to discuss her firsthand insight into Lori Vallow's twisted beliefs, the tragic deaths of JJ and Tylee, and the very disturbing connections between Vallow, Chad Daybell, the LDS Church, David Lee Hamblin, and a handful of others that I think you'll find very relevant. But as a refresher, Lori Vallow Daybell is a convicted murderer and former mother from Idaho. And I say former mother because she has been convicted of killing her own children. It's truly despicable. And she also she was convicted for her participation in the murder of her husband's first wife, Tammy Daybell. And this case is really tied to these extreme religious beliefs and this doomsday cult ideology that she shared with her husband, Chad Daybell. Now, Kresha has a lot to say, and she is so fascinating and so brave. So I'm going to bring her in right now, and I'm going to stop talking. Hi,
Hi.
Kresha. How are you?
I'm doing okay, just
Yeah.
here. I have all the information. Okay.
Yeah. No,
So,
I appreciate you joining me. And, we're going to take it step by step here. But just
mhm,
for people who may not know, can you just explain exactly how you're related to Lori?
yeah, I know it can be a lot confusing because of all the people involved. So, my brother is JJ Vallow's biological father. And so, our uncle Charles, him and Lori adopted JJ when he was a baby.
Mm.
And so that makes Kay Vallow Woodcock my mom, Charles my uncle, Tylee my step cousin, JJ my biological nephew, my only nephew, and I never really went past that. Like I didn't ever figure it out in the step,
Yeah.
adopted world.
Right.
But I mean, yeah. And so Lori was my aunt. That's kind of the clickbait, I guess you could say, because I am her niece, or
Mhm.
was. I was her niece, but then there's also her other niece that everybody's always interested in hearing from, Melanie Boudreaux Pulowski. So anyway, so I'm not really her niece by blood. Everybody know that. Charles is
Yeah.
my uncle. So that's why we're
Okay.
here.
And I'm so sorry for your losses. It's truly unspeakable what has happened to your family. And it's like I don't even know what to say, but I am
It's
sorry.
weird.
And
It's weird and it hurts. Yeah, thank you. I mean, I appreciate that.
of
You know,
course.
nothing
Mhm.
ever brings them back, but it just talking about this and talking about them, that helps. So
Lori Lori is now
yeah.
facing another trial this month in Maricopa County, Arizona, where she's been charged with conspiracy
Mhm.
to commit murder for the death of her first
Yep.
husband, Charles Vallow, who was your
Well,
uncle. Yes, he was shot and killed in 2019 by Lori's brother, Alex Cox, in what was initially
it
deemed as self-defense. Yeah, nobody
it
buys
kicked it off.
that.
That's what it kicked it off, and they went just it was rapid succession after that, pretty much. So
Yes, and she has also been charged with conspiracy to commit attempted murder for the shooting of her former nephew-in-law, Brandon Boudreaux,
yes,
to her niece, yes,
yes,
Melanie Pulowski,
Melanie,
who you mentioned. So
right?
yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces here. There's a
Hmm.
lot
There
going
his.
on. But I want to get your reaction first and foremost to her
Mhm.
Dateline interview this past Friday night with Keith Morrison. I mean, I thought it was a train wreck. I mean, she is so out of touch. She
Yeah,
is so insane, but not to the legal standard of insanity. But what did you think?
right. She is a narcissist all the way through and through. And it really became that the Dateline interview became like, here's your sign. Like, no need to wonder anymore. This is who she is. She is controlling the narrative. She is still inflicting pain upon those that she can. Because of course we're right here. We want to see justice through for our loved ones. And then and she thinks it's a game, and so this is how she controls the narrative, even so much as saying that she made up this stuff about saying she's blaming Tylee, her daughter, her own victim, her
I
own baby
know.
girl, for I don't even want to repeat it because it's not worth it and it's not true, says the evidence. Okay. So reality says that she's convicted of a jury of her peers convicted her and then her husband in Idaho. And so it's like, okay, this is a control freak. I am listening to her whenever she was sentenced in Idaho, and she actually spoke, and we were like, oh my goodness, what is she going to say? She's had this long to just sit on everything and think, you
Yeah.
would think. But that was the first left hook, I guess you could say. Well, at that time, but I mean, she's trying to control the narrative of even their afterlife. And to me, I'm just like, wow. Like, so much so to where it's like they come to me, they visit me, and they say, "Mom, I forgive you. You didn't do anything wrong." Uh, Tylee said, "I'm sorry for being a brat."
What?
Tammy's like, "It's okay, girl." Like, what? That is so insane.
Yeah.
To the level of control. Like, you're not even she's not gonna let any, like, them just be, she's going to sit there and do this to their memories, and it's really alarming. And I
I
hope
know,
people can see
Kresha.
this.
And I think, I mean, if it gives you any type of solace here, and I don't see how, anything could, but I don't think anyone actually buys what she's
No.
actually saying. She does sound
Even
insane, but not to the legal standard, but she's a kook. I mean, and she's evil. She's
exactly.
evil.
This
Yeah.
is where I get a lot of my comfort, and all this. I get a lot of comfort and answers from my research, and that's the cool part about it. I'm not asking as many questions because I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
So
the fact that she says that she didn't kill her kids, I
mhm.
mean, it's kind of like, whoa.
It's the
Yeah.
same woman that says she saw Jesus and that he visits her in her Dateline. She said he visits her in her cell. She even said, and I've already started working on this before the Dateline interview. She said that she was the Lord's favorite. I was like, I straight up had already worked on this. So yes, we'll be making those bumper stickers for Lori because we're gonna make it count. That's the whole point. She used to
Right.
slam her hand on the counter. They said some of her little casters, the little witches, or I don't know what they are, but co-conspirators. They
Mhm.
said that she would slam her hand on the counter and say, "Doesn't count for me," and so that's why I'm like, "Oh, it's going to count, and we're making it count." Whatever she can say, whatever she wants. It's going to hang her in the long run, like it has.
Yeah, and her whole
Mhm.
demeanor was, gosh, it was just, I mean, I know that they made this whole compilation
Cringe.
of her. It was
It's
cringe. It was like, "Yeah, Keith, really, Keith?" And
so
it was
cocky.
it was a little bit like she was
Oh,
practicing, in court, because if
yeah,
people are not aware, she's going to
I
be
think so.
representing herself, as we saw,
Yes.
at the pretrial hearing yesterday,
Mm,
which again was cringe. You've got handwritten motions. You've
mhm.
just got, and the fact that she's blaming court TV, I guess, of
I
exposing
know.
her in so many words is
It's
kind of like,
embarrassing.
it
I'm
is.
embarrassed for
No,
her.
yeah,
Like, I'm just like, "Ew, what are we doing and why are we going this far?" And you're right. In her motion, she's writing and then she capitalizes all the things she wants to accentuate, obviously, and
right.
misspellings, and even her sister's name she wrote on a witness list, that was filed by the defense, um,
Mhm.
Lori, and she wrote
Lori.
her sister's name wrong. And so
Oh,
it's just like, okay. Mm,
yeah. I mean, there
mm,
is so much to unpack there, but what I also want to get into is, as
mm.
you know, I've been covering
Mhm.
ritualistic abuse out of Utah, and
Yeah.
it's very complex, it's very layered and complicated, and there seems
Yeah.
to be
Mm.
these connections between, I've been covering the David Lee Hamblin case. Obviously, we have
What
Lori Vallow.
connections?
Yeah, I know, right? We've got Jody Hildebrandt and Ruby
Yeah.
Franke. And I also want to bring up
Mhm.
another name as well, Ken Krogh, if I'm
Mhm.
pronouncing that correctly. So
Ooh.
yeah, I want to ask you if you could just sort of get into how you have found that all of these names within the Mormon Church, within
Mm,
LDS, who have
yeah.
had some run-ins with the law, and with Ken, it might be a
Yeah.
little bit different. But
It is,
yeah,
and it is with all these people, it's a little different with everyone, each
okay,
level you go. So, okay, Chad and Lori Chad used to be and he would go speak on these Mormon prepper, uh, Preparing a People was one of the name of the sites or the company's organizations that he would go speak at these events, which is where he met Lori ultimately. And there's also the Firm Foundation, which is another Rod Meldrum, which is how
hmm
Rod Meldrum introduced Ken Krogh to Tom Harrison. Tom Harrison is Visions of Glory. Not, I mean, he didn't write the book, but he kind of did. I mean, they're his visions in Visions of Glory. But he tries to blame that on the ghostwriter who passed away just soon after the book was published in 2012.
okay,
So that's interesting. There's always a scapegoat. And so, I mean, Tom is a really interesting, curious character in all of this because Tom would this is, I can't corroborate this, so this is just something that I've heard and knew from the very beginning, and except I only knew him as Portal Guy, okay? I didn't know who Portal Guy was, and then it became very apparent who Portal Guy was, and it was Tom Harrison. It was alleged that Tom Harrison would meet with Chad Daybell and Julie Rowe. Julie Rowe is this visionary woman who she was actually excommunicated in 2019, but kind of in the midst of all this.
yeah,
And so she was so here's Julie Rowe and Chad Daybell traveling to Salt Lake City allegedly to Tom's office so he could teach them how to portal. And we're like, what? We laugh and joke about portal. I have. And because it sounds so stupid. I'm sorry to be so, but it's just so crazy.
hmm
Um, but portaling, it turns out from all the research I've done, is actually remote viewing and listening to like what Julie Rowe, she has a bunch of videos or audios uploaded, and you just
So
have
what
to listen to the crazy.
what do they exactly describe portaling as? How do you train someone as to how to
Remote viewing.
portal? What is it?
It's like I mean, I've never done it, thank God, but
Yeah.
it's basically what I would describe Lori coming up with this whole I died, giving birth to Tylee, that kind of experience. Anyways, it's like meditation and
Okay.
I didn't really look at this before I came on, but I
No,
mean,
it
it's
makes
just a
sense.
way you travel in the mind.
Yeah.
Okay. And astral traveling. But I mean, so there were some documents recently, I don't know the dates, but
Mhm.
recently that were unclassified or declassified
Yep.
from the government website. And I read them and I was just like, wow, vibrations. Okay. There's all these different terminology that they've used. Um, and they all pretend like they don't know what it is. But I mean, this is what it is. It's
Yeah.
something that was kind of basically hidden from the general public,
Mhm.
because it was classified and then it became declassified. I don't know when they got it, but it kind of plays into this whole thing as well because now, but I have to kind of interject Tim Ballard in this just a little.
Okay.
Tim Ballard is the founder of Operation Underground Railroad. I know this is bizarre, but anyways, and so there was a woman who used to work for Tim Ballard who met with investigators in Utah, and she told of how she was. I mean, I actually have it pulled up if I can just quote from it.
Mhm.
That way, I'm not,
Yeah.
misquoting here. But so it says, Sherston said Tim took her to a meeting in her official OUR work capacity to meet with people at Thanksgiving Point, which is a place in Utah. The
Mhm.
people at the meeting included Tom Harrison, Ken Krogh, Hugh Vale, Tim Ballard. Sherston said they claim to have visions and special intelligence of the second coming. That's the interesting part. And then it says Sherston said that because she had shared some spiritual things and Tim found out about it, he, meaning Tim, could share with her the more quote unquote secret things that Tim's involved in. Anyways, it's
Okay.
horribly written. Sherston said during this meeting they spoke about Liberty 89, which is another nonprofit organization, which M. Russell Ballard, the apostle of the Mormon Church, is involved in. Allegedly, he's dead now. America being a fallen nation and how it was Tim's calling to do these things with OUR and restoring America to the covenant. Sherston said restoring America to the covenant was a big mission of Tim's, and it is. That's in quotes. And he was, quote unquote, called of God to do this. Sherston said Tim was very verbal about Elder Russell Ballard's involvement and behind it. Last sentence. But Sherston said she didn't know if she believed that. Tim said, oh, I'm sorry. Tim would say that M. Russell Ballard is a part of Liberty 89. Tim would tell us that, but Hugh was there and Hugh was an employee, so it would be more employees than just me. Anyway, so that's just a little blurb. But
Okay.
if everybody can just get the gist that this is what it's about this huge mission to transform everyone into or under the covenant. America, yeah, you're included. So
Mm,
don't think this doesn't affect
yeah.
you. This is Mormon USA over here, but it's going to affect you.
I guess I'm trying to process all of this. So can
Yeah,
you
it's
tell
hard.
everyone just no in just easy language here. What
Nope.
is
I've
Liberty? What
tried.
is
It's so
Liberty?
hard.
Liberty 89, you said?
It's just a bunch of these companies, and actually the FBI, it's alleged that the FBI was so interested in this aspect of Tim Ballard. I'm surprised, actually. When the stuff happened with Diddy, I was like, "Oh, yes. It's a matter of time, buddy. You're going down." But,
Yeah.
yeah, not yet, and he's
Wow.
been under investigation, and we believe I can only just imagine, and it looks like there's people that step in the way that, stop investigations and stuff. And I mean,
Yes, people
this
in
is
power,
huge.
sure. Yeah, so
Yeah,
you're saying essentially this is mind control basically. And
it
these
is. It
people
has to be.
are okay, these people in these religious organizations and namely at this moment the Mormon Church LDS, they are
Mhm.
trying to practice some kind of mind control and it
Oh,
sounds
yeah.
insane, but look, I've done research
How
into
did you
this
do
as
the
well. Yeah.
You do the research. I was never into this until this happened, and I was like, "What is I now gotta look at this. Now I have to research that." That's what this has been, and I've had to research all kinds of things that I never would have been interested in before or even known
Yeah.
about,
And I had said this the other day on my latest episode into my research into the
Mhm,
ritualistic abuse and
mhm.
suppressed memories and
I
trauma
love that
in
episode, by
this.
the way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so
It
much.
was
But no,
good.
this is it's like, yes, Lori was an adult. Was she
Mhm,
influenced by Chad?
mhm,
Ruby Frankie, yes, an adult making her own decisions. Was she influenced by Jody Hildebrandt? Yes. They
mhm.
do practice some kind of mind control here. I firmly believe
Absolutely,
that. But these
absolutely.
people, they're willing participants. But
It
go ahead. Sorry.
To me, it feels like I'm not trying to be controversial or hurt anybody. I'm never trying to do that. I'm just trying to say what I mean and mean what I say
Yes.
quickly, And it seems to be there's something going on in the temples. I don't know what it is because I can't go in there and you can't go in there unless you talk to a bishop and or stake president and get your own card to be able to swipe it, to be able to go in, to be able
Yeah.
to attend that temple and do those rituals. So it's like and swear those oaths and you know what I'm saying? That's where
Mhm.
a lot of this stuff happened with Lori. She was it was like a referral system, and I know this from the FOIA docs and reading the text messages and the interviews between
Yeah.
all these different players. And it's like Lori was like it seemed like a referral service. She's even caught on tape saying that, "Either give me my temple recommend or I'm gonna commit murder."
Right.
So I went to my bishop and he gave me a temple recommend. I mean, that's what she says. And you're just like, "What? What?" it's
Yeah.
worth murdering. So that's not how I always thought Christianity and or whatever worked. I was just
No.
like, "Whoa, this is so opposite of that already." And we haven't even gotten into the ritualistic stuff yet.
Yeah, no, and
You
I
know?
wanna ask you about, Visions of Glory and, because
Mhm.
Lori had said, JJ was a zombie, and I believe this is also in Visions of
It's
Glory,
not
how it's
I
n
mean,
okay,
the term zombie is not in there.
yeah, okay, okay,
However, I kinda sometimes wonder if I'm sorry, if, Lori and Chad really used it that much, or if this is more Melanie Gibbs' spin, because she kinda came in as a revisionist type
mhm,
person. I believe she was present at my nephew's murder, okay? She
yeah,
was, I mean, she literally was, but I really think she was way more hands-on and not just off in a bedroom with her boyfriend having a bad dream. I don't believe
yeah.
that for 1 second. I don't.
She rubbed me the wrong way
Um,
in the Dateline
yeah,
interview, Melanie. She
very
did.
righteous.
Yeah, she
Mhm.
really did, and I felt like she was lying, but that's my opinion. Uh,
Yeah, you're not alone.
right? Yeah, I'm allowed to my opinion, everybody.
Yes, you are. Yeah, as far as
Thank you
I've
very much.
as
Thank you.
as of today.
Yeah, so, I Ken Krogh, I
Mhm.
only knew that name because there is a man that goes by the name Goel.
Yes.
Goel, who you might know, has done
Yes,
incredible research, like incredible,
I know.
into the
I
ritualistic abuse scandal, and I believe he was hired initially by Ken
I
Krogh.
didn't know that though, so I was very taken
Yeah.
aback by that. I was like, "Wait, whoa," because 'cause I've talked to Goel,
Yeah, but
personally.
it was I think after he had completed this work for Krogh,
Yeah,
he was like, "I'm not done. There is so much more to look into than
okay.
what,
Because
I've
'cause I'm
already."
thinking
Yeah,
my research into it has been from the aspect of Lori and Chad, and then
yeah,
just, like, of course, Tim Ballard's involved in his organization. Chad's book company sponsored OUR in Rexburg the same weekend Tylee Ryan was murdered,
mm,
and I'm
yeah,
just like, "Whoa, that was a
yeah,
huge bombshell for me," and not it didn't really catch on, you know?
yeah,
So, I'm just
yeah,
like, "What?
yeah.
What?" You know, it's still huge. I'm never gonna shut up about it, so
No,
it's just everybody
no,
hunker
I
down.
understand, and just for those who might not be, familiar, who is Ken Krogh to you?
No, nobody.
Oh, no,
Nobody.
okay, really, he's just
He's an interesting character because because I've been researching into the Hamblin case via the
mhm,
lens of my aunt and everything.
mhm,
So I stumble and I see this case and it's ritualistic and I'm just like, "Mm," and here's Tylee and JJ. They were just unearthed from Chad Daybell's property. Tylee was dismembered. Not all of her body parts were there. JJ was, I mean, wrapped in an abundance of duct tape with a white, or it doesn't matter the color, but he had a plastic bag over his head.
mm,
That
yeah,
is very prevalent in all of these cases, the white
yeah,
bag over the head. Now, I mean, all we and he had GHB in his system.
so sad,
I
it's
mean,
so
it was
sad,
very minimal, they couldn't really tell, it was a lot of that, but I mean, he was 7,
yeah,
he shouldn't have had that, and I mean, reading into what these people do, allegedly,
mhm, yeah.
um, it goes on it's par for the course, in my opinion.
Yeah,
It's like,
it goes
"Okay, here
really
we are."
it goes really deep, and again, I
Mhm.
encourage anyone who might say, "This sounds insane,"
Yes, it
do
is
your own
insane.
research. Yeah, I mean, I have a whole playlist
Mhm.
of, my investigation so far into the ritualistic abuse scandal and a lot of this mind control stuff and repressed memory stuff, and
Yeah.
I guess I don't mean, like, go listen to me per se, but I do have
Yeah,
links
but just check
upon
into
links.
it.
Yeah,
Don't
links
take our
upon
word.
links
I
upon
didn't take
links.
anybody's word, and you didn't take anybody's word, so
Nope,
here we
I
are,
did my own research.
It's
And
very empowering.
yeah,
It
and
really
just
is.
going back to Ken really quick, because I've been sort of describing who all these people
Yeah, me
are.
too.
He's a missionary, within the Mormon church
Yes,
in Utah, and that's
yeah.
all he is. But like these names,
Well,
like
kind of. I hate to butt in right there, but
yeah,
he's also, he was on the board for Operation Underground Railroad for Tim Ballard,
okay,
along with M. Russell Ballard, who is the, late apostle of the Mormon Church. like, in the very beginning of all this, when I didn't and I still am not very great or effective at explaining all this because I'm a never Mormon, a never Mo, they call us.
Yeah, no.
But, I mean, so all this was just culture shock for me. I was like,
Mhm.
"What is this?" And the there's a structure to things, and
Mhm.
it was so much to have to learn and cram while my family was, the 2 kids were missing, and it was
Oh,
just crazy. But,
can
you
imagine.
come I kinda came to an understanding, and I started to just dig, because I am a digger. And,
Yeah.
like, Ken Krogh, there's all these people, and you basically look at, like, what someone's end game is, and you're like, where who's lining their pockets? 'Cause that's
Yeah.
really what it is. Follow the money. Everybody says it,
Mhm.
follow the money, and so that's what I did, and, I
Yeah.
mean, it's led me far beyond the Mormon Church, and I'm like, "Holy crap, I was not intending on going this far." But Ken Krogh he's a board of director for, Liberty 89, which
Mhm.
M. Russell Ballard, the apostle of the church, was allegedly involved in, and so is Tom Harrison. Okay, and then Tom Harrison and Ken Krogh have both administered priesthood blessings. Okay, which are basically like a not a fortune telling thing, but
Mhm.
they anoint the person and they put their hands over their heads, and it's a really interesting read if you can ever go look at those priesthood
Yeah.
blessings that yeah. Well, because Ken Krogh and Tom Harrison, according to these priesthood blessings that were administered to Tim Ballard, they said that he was going to essentially be the future prophet of the Mormon Church, and which is
Wow.
a conflict already,
Yeah.
and the future president of the United States of America. So I'm trying to figure out why Chad is being called a cult leader this whole time. I've never seen anything where he's just like,
Yeah.
"I'm the cult leader," And I mean,
Yeah.
that was just my whole, like, initial, like, jolt into this was like, I wanna know what separates them from, the church, because everything tracks out except for the word zombie, so whatever.
Yeah, that's a good point. I forget where I read that, something about the visions of glory and zombie, but maybe it wasn't directly in the book.
Yeah,
But I
it's
also want
just
to
pop
point,
culture, it's pop
yeah,
culture. It
yeah.
means dark. It means light or dark.
And
Same
I want
thing.
to point out that one of my favorite phrases is multiple things can be true. So
Oh, yeah,
could
yeah.
could Tim Ballard have done good work on Sound of
Yes,
Freedom? Does that have to be all
yep,
accurate? No. But did he do good work? Yes. But could
yep,
he
but a lot of
allegedly
people get hurt.
right, could he allegedly be
Mhm.
involved in this stuff as well? Yes, multiple things can be true,
I
guys. You don't
just
have to go
it's
one way or
so
the other.
crazy, though. It is
Yeah,
so like, for me, it's like it was a per it hurt when Sound of Freedom came out and people were praising it, and I was just like, it does not represent. And I mean, people buck me on this. They don't normally buck me on a lot of things, so I'm like, "Hey,
yeah,
there's
yeah,
2 dead kids here," they did not ask for this, so I usually don't put up with too much crap. But I
yeah,
mean, or, you're not gonna come in here and gaslight me or try to whatever and tell or attack
mhm,
my my character, which is pretty
yeah.
pretty often.
Well,
But,
and
I
I'm
mean
sorry to hear that. That's
well, no, but I
absurd.
mean, it's okay. There are people out there, and I mean, I'm not combative. I'm not like Lori Vallow. But I
Yeah,
mean, I'm like, "Hey, all right, let's talk about let's bring this back down."
yeah,
Anyways, I just anybody that worships these things, they either worship their church, their church leaders, or their idols, and it's just like it's disgusting. Everybody's just like they run over here and they run over there, and I'm just like, I appreciate someone's work, but I don't worship them. Like
yeah.
there's
And
a lot of worship.
I think, I don't want to make a blanket statement here for all
I do
Mormons,
that
of
enough.
course, because that would not be right. But I think
Right. Mm,
fundamentally something has to change within a lot of these churches and
exactly.
within this religion in terms of the way
Mhm.
that I'm going to go ahead and say allegedly groom children, because the
Yeah.
grooming of these
Oh,
children
yeah.
for the rituals, for these things that exist, like
Just
it's
to be like,
real,
"Okay." Right.
and it's not
It's
necessarily
confusing for an
happening.
adult, much less a child, like
Yeah. Yeah,
ugh,
and to be clear, it's not necessarily happening everywhere, as I mentioned, but in the
Mhm.
cases that we are specifically
Mhm.
talking about, it appears to be happening, and it's very
Yes.
scary. And something else that
Mhm.
I think is terrifying here is that Lori Daybell, I think she's the type of person, in my opinion,
Oh god, yes.
to kill her roommate in prison, okay? Because
Oh, I thought you were gonna say
God no, I'm saying because God tells her to. Oh, God told me to kill.
yeah,
Like if I would put her by herself. Literally, she
like, in a straitjacket somewhere, right?
yes,
Hug yourself.
she is the
Yeah,
type of, and Chad as well. If they are saying that they are getting directives from
I
God
know.
himself and Jesus himself, which they are not, okay? They are not
No.
prophets here.
Let's
Like
let's be clear.
this is dangerous. So,
It is.
yeah.
Obviously, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, it is. And it's so crazy because this is a person that was so she was, like, so, like, involved. She was, like, engaged, whenever kinda like she was with Keith, but not as creepy. It was not
So
creepy.
crazy.
But, I mean,
Yeah.
like, you were the only person that existed. That's what I felt like.
Yeah.
And, of course, I didn't meet her, see her that many times. I never would fly where they were because I didn't like to fly. I was scared of it.
Mhm.
And so I didn't I don't know. Now I did date a guy who was like, "That is crazy." And I was like, "What? Why are you saying that?" And that was in 2012, 2014.
Wow.
Anyways, that was wild. I
Well,
didn't know where that came from.
I mean, I really appreciate you sharing all this, and I would love to have you back to unpack this stuff further. I think we've laid a great foundation. No, honestly,
Yeah,
because it's so much here that it's like
it
it would
is.
take hours to truly go over it, and it'd be too many names, very confusing. But again, I would love
Yes,
to have
a
you back.
lot.
Yeah,
Thank
for
you.
sure. Is there
Appreciate
anything
that.
else that you want to add? You
Like,
know,
I don't know. I want people maybe because I mean, I'm kinda questioning this myself right now,
mhm,
and I'm trying to figure out what created this.
yeah,
The more I'm digging into, like, Lori's childhood and Alex's childhood, because that's her brother, and I'm just like, what does an SRA family look like? Because they don't really just advertise it.
yeah,
From the Hamlin case, it's hidden in plain sight. So I'm trying to, like, change the way I view things,
yeah.
just to, "Okay, well, what is it then?"
Yeah, and for
And
those listening, SRA is satanic ritual abuse, and from what I've
mhm,
seen,
it's
they
ritual.
seem to
Mhm.
hide out in these neighborhoods together with multiple
And they
families.
hang out and go do this home in Mormonism, at least,
Yeah,
they're going and hanging out and talking about the mysteries of God, and it's a slippery slope, I think, and so you can't always recognize it. I mean, and that's just being sincere, I mean, I'm not faulting anybody who has fallen for these kinda things, you know, please come out and talk. Please, because we need your story. We all hold a piece of this puzzle, all of us, so your voice is needed and nobody's gonna silence it here. Um, but I mean, we need more people on the positive side and not hear about it and be reactive and, instead of proactive. So just do it for the kids. That's what it's about. But I mean, just let's I don't know, just I don't know if anybody has any pointers as to what to really look for?
mhm,
Now, Lori's family was described as by Stacy, her sister, her oldest sister who died.
mhm.
She said that her family was basically a psychological hornet's nest, and I was like, "That's accurate."
Yeah,
And so I was like, that kinda applies to all these other families I read about in the Hamlin case, and, hmm,
yeah,
it's
definitely.
very, very a lot of things that are, um, checking the boxes.
Yeah,
There's
you're
not a
right.
lot of research on this either as far as, like, this kinda stuff. Not in present time.
Right, right. And I love what you said though. Do it for the kids. If
Yeah.
you guys, yeah, if you are out there and you know something is going on that
Mhm.
is not right within your church, or you have that gut feeling, and sadly
Follow it.
the mind control has made people think that this is normal.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Not
it's
normal.
tough.
Follow
But
your gut. Yes.
Krisha, where can people follow you if they want to find you?
Right here at Difficult Research on YouTube. I have a Facebook group as well. which is difficult research. And I'm on X.com under, I think, Kresha Kay. I'm not sure. And it's KRESHAKAY. And I don't remember anything else right now. So I don't know.
No, that's perfect.
I went
Put your
blank,
link
but
I'll
that's the
put your
main
link
ones.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
put them in the episode notes,
Thank
and
you.
I really appreciate your time and for talking us through all of this, and I would love to have you back soon, okay?
I wish I could stay a little more focused, but it's so much to so many pieces, and it's crazy. So, thank you for having my crazy,
No,
and
stop. I thought I like I
I
said, I
mean,
think
it's not mine, it's hers, it's Lori damn Daybell, okay? It's hers.
I think you've laid the
So,
foundation, and I really appreciate it. So we'll definitely be in touch
thank
soon.
you.
Thank you so much again.
Appreciate you. Alright.
Because of that 9 to